Welcome to iPad Pros, the show all about using your iPad to be productive and get work done. I'm Tim Chen, host of the show. Welcome back to another episode of iPad Pros. We're joined this episode by Jason McFadden, and we're going to dive into map making on the iPad, amongst other things, but that's going to be the primary topic today. And if you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. With that, here's my discussion with Jason. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Jason.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me. Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah, glad we could make this work. I saw you kind of post on Mastodon about a lot of different iPad things you're up to, and the mapping in particular caught my eye. It's like, that looks like something just like a cool way to use the iPad, making fantasy maps and whatnot. But before we kind of dive into all that, I just wanted to kind of get some background on your usage of iPad, what kind of role it plays in your life, and kind of just some general iPad thoughts.
Sure. Well, I'm on my fifth iPad. It's my setup is the iPad Air M2 right now, 256 gig, and I've got the Pencil Pro. I use that to make maps. We'll get into that some more later, but like I said, it's my fifth one. I had the original one in 2011. I know it came out in 2010. I got it a year later from a friend. Got a good deal on that one. So I had the first one. I had the Air 2, and the Air 2, that was my first iPad where I considered it my computer, my only computer at the time. And then I got the eighth. It was the 8th gen iPad, and then I got the iPad Air M1 with the base model storage of 64 gigs, so I don't recommend that. And that's kind of what pushed me to get the M2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're just, offloading apps, trying to make room for whatever else you need, and it's a juggle. It's a struggle. So I got this M2 with 256, and I think that'll do me for a while. Yeah. So, so on my professional day job as it is, I'm a PC guy. I've been doing AutoCAD drafting and 3D modeling for our architecture firm and engineering companies. I started in the 90s with that. I've been doing it for over 20 years, and I'm a structural designer by trade. I guess that's my profession. So I do structural steel and concrete design for heavy industrial facilities like oil refineries, power plants, chemical factories, but mostly the petroleum industry. I'm in Texas, so there's a lot of oil out here, and they keep trying to get it all out of the ground. So I use a PC and Intel Xeon workstations with AutoCAD, Navisworks, and CADWorks Structure are the main ones, and 3 monitors and everything. So it's a lot different from the iPad by itself. I'm on the 11-inch iPad. I would not try to do AutoCAD on the iPad. It's just
from
too small.
Screen size, yeah, because there are AutoCAD applications out there now.
There is Autodesk.
Ones. Yeah,
Autodesk does make an officially licensed AutoCAD program. It's in the App Store. I've looked at it. I've tried it once a long time ago. It's mostly a viewer. So you can view AutoCAD files, .dwg files. You can view and do some light annotation and some light editing and markups. It says you can create new drawings. I haven't really tried that, and I just... The interface is so small and so different from what's on the PC. It's not really conducive to it. If somebody really wanted to, they could probably make it work. But Autodesk hasn't really invested in it, from what I can tell.
Okay. I'd imagine the external display would be a nice thing to use with that.
Yes, and maybe they'll end up doing that in the future. Now that it's more of a possibility with iPadOS 26, especially with windowing.
For sure.
So
yeah.
So that would be cool. And if they ever do, I'll look into it. Some of our field guys and our construction guys that work in our engineering company, they may use an iPad in the field for just reviewing plans, viewing construction drawings out in the field, things like that. And they may use it, but to my knowledge, I'm not aware of it. So
okay,
that's kind of my professional background. So I'm into construction drawings, schematics, floor plans, mazes, 2D and 3D modeling stuff. That's kind of it kind of relates to mapping and cartography, and I've always just kind of liked maps. You know, I consider myself young still, but I'm old enough to know what it is to travel cross country with a Rand McNally paper map. And we didn't have mobile internet, we didn't have smartphones, so to kill the time in the long car travel, you look at a map and you explore it, you know,
Yeah.
or you look out the window and try not to be bored. So I'm used to looking at maps, and I like cartography, and it's not a big hobby I'm into, but I'm starting to get into it more now that I've finally took a stab at making my own maps. Um, let's see, did I leave anything out there? I think I covered the bases.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's funny. We really take maps on like phones and stuff for granted so much.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like I remember when I started driving, what, 2008, 9 or whatever, it was like the early days, and it was before I had whatever it was actually probably earlier than that, but basically MapQuest was the tool that I'd
Okay.
print out basically the turn by turn directions, like
Right.
this is the route you need to take, and I'd
Yes,
bring
I remember
that on
that.
trips. And
Right.
I successfully went to like Wisconsin that way, and then trying to get back
Okay.
home, I definitely missed a turn, and I then eventually just like, let's go roads that look like it's going east and south, and yeah, I
Okay.
ended up in Chicago, and from there I ended up home. But it was quite the journey home. It's a
Yeah.
little bit, yeah,
Yeah.
more a lot easier these days. You can't. It's hard to get lost
It,
these days.
it is yeah, the kids these days, Gen Zs, they don't know what they're missing, right?
They don't know.
No, but that I remember that transition phase where it's maps were half digital, you go online, but then you print them out, so
Yeah.
they're physical too, analog and digital combined.
Yep. And
I
then
see
TomTom
around.
had quite a business on iPhone. In the early days, you'd buy
Yes.
like a $50 offline turn by turn thing for your iPhone 3G, or I remember doing it for the iPad because the iPad with cellular had the GPS built into the iPad as well.
Right, right. Yeah, see, around the time you mentioned MapQuest, I had I was on a PC laptop. I had Microsoft made a map program, and it used to ship in a box with a GPS receiver via USB-A.
Mm-hmm.
And
Huh.
you'd have to stick it on your dashboard and have your laptop there with the pokey Intel battery life
Yeah.
of an early 2000s laptop. So it'd probably die before you got to where you're going, but
Right.
that's what we had.
Yeah.
And now iPhones and Android and Google Maps, they killed Garmin and TomTom for the most part. I Nobody uses those dedicated GPS receivers on their dash anymore. You
No.
don't see them.
No. It was quite the business they had. I'm
Yeah.
curious. Garmin's, of course, in the watch business. That's probably their primary thing these
Yeah.
days, and probably I think aviation maybe is a thing they're navigating.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about TomTom what they're up to.
So I need to try, as a side note, I'd like to try a cellular iPad because of the GPS, man, because of that bigger screen. I'd like to see how it works in a car just for turn by turn.
Yeah, if you mount it. I'm at the TomTom's website. They have an app. I don't know how successful it is, but yeah, they have
Okay.
it. They have an app. They have a hardware.
So to my understanding, if you have a cellular iPad with GPS, you can use it for turn by turn navigation and without needing to pay for a cellular plan. Is
That's
that
correct.
correct?
Yeah, because the
Okay.
GPS works independently of cell radios, but
Got it.
because there are cell radios, that also means Apple builds in the GPS radios. They're kind of
Got it.
linked together in that
Okay,
way.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. I think my
Yeah.
next iPad's gonna have cellular in it then,
No, I
just
mean,
for that.
yeah, no, I love having cellular on the iPad, but GPS is it's underrated thing to have on the iPad. Like,
Okay, good
yeah.
to know. Good to know.
So, outside of mapping, any other just basic iPad things that you're pleased with as a device to have and use?
Yeah, I mean, the iPad, I want to say it still sells as much as the MacBook does. When you look at Apple's quarterly
Mm-hmm.
results, if I remember correctly, numbers wise, it sells about as much as a MacBook does, or their Mac line. So it's equally popular. It's been around, 15 years now, and like I said, this is my fifth one that I'm on, and I've always been drawn to the iPad. Apple used to have a marketing thing where they said, if you love your iPhone, you'll love the iPad. And that's kind of what it is for me.
Yeah.
It's futuristic, it's modern, it's friendly, easy to use, it's simple. Uh, I can handle a PC. I have an M1 MacBook Air. I like traditional desktop computing. I like that file-centric approach. But I've also been able to transition to the app-centric approach via iPad and iPhone.
Hmm.
Uh, and I've had a Chromebook and Android phones over the years, Kindle Fire tablet. I've had a little bit of everything, Samsung tablet, but I always come back to the iPad. And it's just gotten better over the years. So I've tried to use it as my only computer more than once, starting with the iPad Air 2. And because it's so thin and light, you hold it in your hands, you can interact with it easily.
And that one
It
was
work. It's vert.
that one was a powerhouse as far as it had a lot of
It
RAM for
was.
the time, and it was great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that laminated screen, I think is it had back then, just like it does now. So I use it as an e-reader these days. It's my phone and my iPad are my e-reader. I'm basically given up the Kindle Paperwhite,
Hmm.
that sort of thing. E-readers, even though I love e-ink, I'm like, just I need to simplify and just use a few devices. And I've gone back and forth, and I'm a tech enthusiast, a prosumer, if you want to call it that. And so I get easily swayed when I see new tech. So even if it's a PC and with a new operating system, I look over there and I go, oh, look, new shiny, and I need to go play with that and try it out. And
Yeah.
and I come from the PC world, so sometimes I'll gravitate towards the PC, but I always come back to the iPad. And now I got a Magic Keyboard to make it more of a laptop.
Hmm.
So I'd say primarily I use it as a tablet, but now with the Magic Keyboard, I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to use it way more like a laptop, more
Yeah.
than I thought I would, with the trackpad and the backlit keys and everything. And I just really enjoy it. And what I love about the Magic Keyboard is how it's so easy to just grab the bottom edge and just pull that tablet off, and boom, you're instantly in tablet mode. It's like the Switch, where you can go handheld or you can dock it and you can play on your TV. It's like a Switch dock, which I
Yeah.
love. You
No,
just
it's a
plug it in and
great analogy. Yeah, I also
and it,
yeah,
it
I love
just
the Switch
works.
as you. Yeah, I saw you're playing Xenoblade Chronicles X. Love that game. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get back into it. It's on pause. I've got a
Yeah.
lot of things on my plate. I'm like, making maps here.
Yes.
So I have to, balance all my hobbies and my downtime and that sort
Absolutely.
of thing. So,
Yeah, but I've never heard the
so
Switch analogy, and it's so true. The iPad with the Magic Keyboard,
it is
converts that way. Yeah.
that 3-pin pogo connector on the back. You just stick it
Yeah.
on with the magnets and you just go. It's great. So yeah, I'm using it as my laptop and as my tablet and my e-reader, and of course in tablet mode with the Pencil Pro. I started making maps. I really started about a month and a half ago with the M1 iPad Air and the Pencil 2,
Hmm.
but I upgraded to the Pro as required by the M2 Air. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
where I'm at
the
right
Pro's
now.
a nice little upgrade to the pencil. Like it's a lot of little nice things. Nothing groundbreaking, but just like some nice little touches. So why mapping? Like what's the draw to mapping as far as these are for, like fantasy and fiction stories was the main draw
Uh-huh.
versus like a real thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Why mapping? That's a good question. Like I mentioned earlier with the old school Rand McNally paper maps, cartography, and just the general liking of plans, 2D plans, and I like to explore. Whether it be Xenoblade game, I like to explore, and mapping is a way of exploring. So I have a creative side that I don't tap into all that often, but when I do, I really dive in. So a few years ago, I've started writing a story, and I've tried a few different fiction novels, fantasy and sci-fi, and they never go anywhere. Uh, but it's fun to try, and my imagination begins to bubble up, all these ideas. And I found one time it really, really helped when I first started to get the world building and the setting in my head, is to just put it out in front of me on a piece of paper and draw with colored pencils and map kind of loosely map out the region of my story and how things relate to one another. And when I did that, my brain just automatically started going, okay, so this group of folks can go here and travel from point A to P like this. And, let's put something in between there and make it a challenge and put that in the story or whatever. And it just helped me to visualize and do world building. And world building is a fun topic on its own. A lot of folks like to make maps for Dungeons and Dragons, D&D, tabletop RPGs. And so in a similar vein, I like JRPGs, I like turn-based Final Fantasy games, and I play those when I have find the time, like Xenoblade. And those are games based on a story and a setting, and that setting is a world map, and you often would have an overworld. And I remember getting Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo back in the 90s. And when I pulled it out, it came with a huge map. You unfolded, paper map, had the World of Ruin on one side, World of Balance on the other. If you remember that game. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't played it. But yeah, you got this big map, and then it translated onto the screen as a digital, video game map, and it's an overworld and going from point A to point B, via that. And so I got into a little bit RPG Maker MZ, program on the PC that I have, and also for the Mac. They do, you can get it on Steam for the Mac, and it does work. I've tried it. And I've started making a story and a video game or role playing game and a little bit of an overworld through that before too, a few years ago. So those are some things I'm interested in with fantasy maps. So the creative bug bit me earlier this year when I was in a PC phase again,
Hmm.
and I had bought a gaming laptop at the beginning of the year because I was doing a lot of Steam gaming, and I was like, you got to have a PC for that, really.
You do, yeah. Or Steam Deck.
Hopefully, or Steam Deck. Hopefully, Apple will continue to work on its metal technologies and change that, and we'll see. We'll see. But I got into a creative mode early this year, and I wanted to get either WonderDraft, that program called WonderDraft, or Incarnate. Those are map building, map making programs, and they kind of favor fantasy maps
Yeah.
for the D&D TTRPG genre. So I started looking at those, and I never settled on one, never bought one. I guess I waffled back and forth too long they got out of my creative phase or got distracted by something else. Who knows?
Right.
Life, So, but this time around, I was like, I'm on the iPad. I'm not using my Mac. I like the iPad. I'm gonna stick with it. There's got to be. It's been 15 years. There's got to be a good WonderDraft equivalent on the iPad. So I started to look into it, and I quickly found a website and a YouTube channel called Map Effects. That's Map Effects with an E, by a guy named, I hope I don't get it wrong, Josh Stolars, I think is how you pronounce it.
Hmm.
And it uses, for the iPad, you use Procreate. And I know most people have probably heard of Procreate. But if not, it's a artistic program where you can use the pencil and just draw. It's like, uh, do whatever you want, draw. There's a million
Yeah.
brushes on there. There's a lot it can do. So what Josh Stolars of Map Effects has done is he's created a lot of brushes tailored to Procreate, as well as Photoshop, Affinity Photo, and a few others I'm not too familiar with. So that was kind of what I was looking for. So I started watching his YouTube tutorials, reading his website, and starting to learn what I could do potentially with what he was making. Before I got into the map effects that he was, you buy these brushes and put them in Procreate to
Hmm.
use. I was trying to learn how to do it from scratch, the
Oh
way
wow.
he would do it.
Yeah.
So he's really, if you watch his stuff and read his site, he's really really creative, really talented at this stuff. But he's also a great teacher. I find his teaching style very approachable and very simple and to the point and all. And
Hmm.
I've just been able to glean a lot from it. So I watch and I learn. And for a few weeks, I was learning to draw mountains by hand, just by using different pencils and Procreate, just by scratch. I showed my kids And they were actually, I impressed my kids. Like, Dad, you drew that? He's like, yeah, I drew that. So I was like, okay, this could go somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
This is kind of fun. I was actually producing stuff that didn't look half bad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow. I'm not an artist. I don't have an artistic bone or whatever. I'm a technical drawing kind of guy.
Yeah.
But but and I don't have a lot of time, so that's why I like map effects, because
Mm-hmm.
what Josh has done is created brushes so that you don't have to do everything from scratch. A lot of brushes are like stamps. So
Okay.
you pick a different mountain style and you stick that on there, and you can add to it, you can customize it. There's a bunch you can do. It just kind of makes it faster and easier. So there's less of a learning curve, I would say, and then it helps your creativity come out more easily, and less friction. You know, I think a lot of people probably have a creative side to some degree or another, right?
Yeah,
Even if
for
they're not
sure.
artists, and it's fun to get into it, but people might be discouraged because the tools, they're just, it's hard to learn the actual tool to use,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't help them unleash their creativity. So for me, and probably for many others, I found that Procreate and Map Effects basically helped me to get into that more creative side. Now I still have a long ways to go, much to learn. I still have, like Yoda
Yes.
would tell me. Yeah.
So,
So, but
so what all is in map effects? So there's the mountain
yeah,
brushes. Is there water and other like? How extensive does it get with what's in there?
it's complete. It's
Yeah.
I don't know what's the better word, comprehensive or exhaustive. It has
Mm-hmm.
everything. It has all the fantasy stuff. There are a few different bundles that you can buy. I bought the fantasy map builder bundle, and there are also add-ons, so you can supplement that with extra themes and whatnot. So in the fantasy builder bundle, there are many mountain types, tree types, water types, and terrain effects. There are also individual brushes that he's created for shading,
Mm-hmm.
drawing rivers, single lines, double lines, basically everything. And if you watch what he does, he shows you how to use pretty much every tool step by step. And he shows you how to use the process or the sequence. Like, you want to start with a coastline or the general shape of your continent, and then you want to add, this color, or you want to add this line type, and he just build it up layer by layer. So yeah, Procreate uses layers. I think my map had about 21 layers, my first map, and I don't think that's too many. But it seemed to work fine, and my iPad handled it no problem. So yeah, there's any shaping. There are floating islands. You want a fantasy map of floating islands? They're in there. There's different sizes, there's different shapes, and with Procreate, any stamp or brush or terrain effect you choose, you can mirror it. So you flip it and give it some variety that way. You can scale it up and down to give it some more variety, and of course, he includes the actual pencils and brushes that he used to create the mountains, for example, or the trees. Those are included as well. So if you want to add a mountain range quickly, and then you want to draw manually just from scratch some extra line work, you can totally do that, and it blends in seamlessly because it matches the same pencil and brush styles that he's created. So you can do that to combine things like canyons, crevasses or crevices with
Yeah.
mountains, cliffs, waterfalls flowing over cliffs. It's all in there. Many different tree types. Uh, I got the Fantasy Map Builder bundle, and then I got the Oriental themed effects. So you get
Mm-hmm.
a bonsai tree, you get torii gates, and you get pagodas and all kinds of different Oriental, East Asian looking
Yeah.
buildings
The
and
dragon.
terrain. Yes, you get dragons. If it's a fantasy map, if you don't have dragons, what are you
I
doing,
know,
right?
right? Yeah.
You gotta have dragons. Tolkien style mountains. He's got a whole thing on just how to draw Tolkien style mountains, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, because those
uh,
books, they have maps in the books themselves, like Tolkien drew out these maps.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. he talks about that on his site too,
Yeah,
on
that's
his
cool.
YouTube channel. Yeah, so Tolkien maps, and who doesn't like to look at those maps when they're reading the story and
Oh, they're great.
reference and look
Yeah.
back and because it's a big sprawling world. Tolkien was a master world builder. I mean, he built languages to go with it. I mean, so
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
pretty well known.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what
So
is your first map, Jiyoshi? What's that based off
Yoshi,
of?
yes.
Yeah.
Nothing really. It's
Okay.
that is a starter map just to see if I could use how I could use the map builder tools and brushes. There's two things I'm learning as I go. One is how
Hmm.
to use Procreate just by itself to
Yeah.
do anything, layers, and all the different settings for that. And then I'm also learning at the same time specifically the map builder brushes and how those work. So I'm learning those two things together at the same time. I'll watch some of his tutorials. I'll watch some Procreate tutorials just on the program by itself. No, Gyoshi is just from my imagination. I just tried to make an interesting first shape to learn how to use he has what's called a coastliner brush and the water effects and how to do some masking to get everything to look right. Um, so yeah, that is I'm into Japanese language learning, and there's I want to say two Easter eggs on that map, two names that have a common reference for the Gen Xers out there. And I don't know if if anybody noticed that, but it's the town of Miyagi and
Okay.
Sato.
Yeah.
Those are if you watch Karate Kid Part Two, you'll be familiar with those names. So yeah,
Gotcha.
Mr. Miyagi. He's kind of my one of my childhood heroes. Yeah. So that's kind of where some of that inspiration came from. I love Japanese language learning and Oriental, East Asian influences with Japan and whatnot. So I wanted to make that. And so Josh Stolar's on his website. He happened to have a whole Oriental theme. He has Viking, Mayan, Egyptian, Oriental, and one other that escapes my memory. And I was like, definitely Oriental. I'm going with that one.
Yeah.
The only other add-on I got were the Crag Spire Mountains.
Okay.
So you have your Tolkien style mountains and your
Hmm.
basic everyday common mountains, but then you have a Crag Spire. They're extra pointy and chiseled looking and more sinister, more fantasy based. And there's a lot of effects that go with those that I combined on my first map, along with some canyons and cliffs, crevasses, and all that. Standing stones, there's a whole bunch of standing stones, sort of like Stonehenge, just to give your fantasy map, some more points of interest, more ominous areas,
Yeah.
and as you look at a map that has that sort of stuff, it just kind of creates this thing. Your brain just goes, hey, what's happening over here? Your brain will start to make up stories, and that's kind of why I like the map building process. Is
Yeah.
It just helps you to be creative and come up with stories and stuff. And there's an endless inspiration out there too. If you besides map effects, there's another YouTube channel called Maps by Owen, and I learned a few things from him on how to draw maps by hand, and also just getting inspiration and uh, seeing what other people have done and built and made for their mapping, and going, oh wow, you can do that. I'll see a map and I'll go, oh, I didn't think of that idea. I'm going to do that. I'm going to copy that and claim it for my own and put it in my world and run with it. So it's just so interesting.
Yeah. In your kind of research of mapping tools, have you discovered if there's like templates for like 2D game maps, like recreating like the Metroid map where each screen is a different part of the map kind of thing?
That no, I have not. From what I've seen, again, like D&D, TTRPG type stuff,
Mm-hmm.
besides regional maps or world maps, which is what I'm focused on,
Yeah.
MapFX also has inns and taverns and
Mm-hmm.
city maps.
Okay.
So you have your region and world map for your story, the
Mm-hmm.
big picture. Then there's special bundles where you can go into a town and you
Yeah.
have just a town map, a city
Mm-hmm.
map, and then you zoom in from there and you go into an actual inn or a dungeon. There's a
Yeah.
lot of dungeon maps. I would say from what I've seen on about Incarnate, the PC program, it's more geared towards it can do a lot, but it seems to have started with a focus on the dungeon map
Yeah.
genre.
Hmm.
Uh, for like dungeon crawlers maybe or
Hmm.
Dungeons and Dragons. And then Wonder Draft, I think it started with a focus on a world region type map from
Okay.
what I can tell online. Both have grown and expanded from there. Incarnate, especially from what I've seen, they've added a lot of city type maps and town maps, and also you can go out to the big picture and do world or region maps.
Yeah. No, that's very
So,
cool. Do you have any idea how actual maps are made for planet Earth? Like, are there actual like tool like software for that, or I have no idea even
oh
where that
yeah,
what that
sure.
is. Yeah.
There's a lot. I don't know a lot about it, but from what I've seen, it's very complicated.
Yeah, right. Because you have to scale it up and down appropriately, and
You
yeah.
do. You actually for large scale maps, you must take into account the curvature of the Earth, which involves
Mm.
math and physics
Yeah.
and lots of numbers that you can't get wrong because you can get a number off. You can be off 1 degree here, and then the next foot or 2 feet, half mile, you're fine. But once you get 30, 100 miles down the road, that 1 degree, you're way, way, way off.
Yeah.
So surveyors, for example, they have to be accurate when they take survey points out in the field. There's a global mapping system where, like in the U.S. anyway, the United States is broken down into regions, and they each have their own like coordinate system, if you will, local, kind of like a local coordinate system. And you have to make sure you start in the right local coordinate system
Yeah.
or else you'll just be off. You'll be way off. So that there's a lot. If you just look into surveying, there's a lot to it. So it's a lot more complicated
Yeah. No, for
from what
sure.
I've experienced. Yeah,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
wouldn't want to have to go down that path too
No.
far.
What's the next map you're kind of eyeing to create, if there is one to mind?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm definitely planning to expand on what I've done so far. I don't have anything in particular in mind other than to embellish, to add some more features, change up the continent, the shape of the continent, get it looking better overall,
Mm-hmm.
and just finish learning the tools and learning Procreate better, so then I can really come up with something fun and interesting. And I would really like to get into more detail as well. So I want to make a world region map that's got multiple continents,
Mm-hmm.
and then zoom in and make a region map for each continent itself, and then kind of zoom in from there and see where it goes, and see how I can connect them all together. So putting multiple maps together somehow would be great, um, just to build a bigger world to kind of play in and explore. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I use every brush in the bundle set, if I can, and make it look natural, make it look good, and just kind of go with the flow and that creative process, see where it leads,
Yeah.
and have fun with it. This first map that I did, I did on a Sunday, day of rest, where I had plenty of time to just kind of focus, and I want to say like half the day just flew by,
Mm-hmm.
hours and hours. So it may sound arduous or hard, but those hours flew by so fast because I was having fun
Yeah.
making that map. And then it was hard to put down. I would put it down and be like, I need to take a break. And then like 5, 10 minutes later, I'm like, I think of something. I'm like, oh, I can make that
Mm-hmm.
look better. So I go back to it, I pick it up, and it's hard to put down. I'm like, I'm gonna make this
Yeah.
look better. I'm gonna redo this layer here, and Procreate makes it easy because you can duplicate any brush, you can duplicate brush sets, you can duplicate your map. So I had like a sepia version, then I made a color version, and I just export them to the Files app on the iPad, and kind of keep track of them and name them appropriately, and just iterate. You know, that's what I love about digital, and what I love about doing on the iPad. You can iterate easily. I suppose, I mean, you can do it on Photoshop on a PC, and if you have a Wacom tablet and pen stylus, you could do it with that, I'm pretty sure. But I happen to prefer and use iPad for it, and it works great. And the Apple Pencil has been phenomenal. I'm a lefty, by the way, a left-handed
Okay.
guy,
Yeah.
and for so long I wondered, can it truly have real good palm rejection?
Yeah.
And when I finally tried it, and yes, it does. I can lay my left hand on that glass and write and draw as if I was on paper, and it works. It just works.
Yeah.
Um,
Probably better than a fountain pen, which you'd have it all over your
yeah,
hand with the
exactly.
wet
Yeah,
ink.
lefties, we get our hands get smudgy.
Yes, I
We
do.
smudge our
Yeah.
hands, the paper. So,
Yeah.
speaking of paper, I know many people who use iPad have heard of Paperlike, and I've still not pulled the trigger to try that, but I plan to, because I hear nothing but good things about it, and I would really love to have that real paper-like feel for when I'm drawing maps, especially, but even just for handwriting,
Hmm.
because
It's definitely
uh,
better than the glass. Even the nano texture on the newer iPads, it's
really,
definitely better
okay,
of a Apple Pencil experience. It's not paper, but it's much better, if that makes sense.
right,
Like,
sure.
yeah. Glass
And
is
I've
just so
heard
tacky. Like, especially if your hands at all sweaty, it like sticks to it and
sticks, yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, and I've heard that it doesn't reduce the brightness of the screen terribly.
Not really, no.
Like it'll help reduce glare, but you don't really dim the screen, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to shell out some money and try that eventually, before too long.
Yeah. Is pressure sensitivity something you use in these, or is just kind of a set, here's what the brush is and it's kind of just lays it
No,
down?
there for sure you use pressure sensitivity when drawing the rivers.
Yeah.
There's a river brush,
Mm-hmm.
and the basic river brush is two lines side by side,
Mm-hmm.
and that there's some waviness built into that brush as you draw, but as you press harder with the pressure, it'll get thicker and heavier as you go. So as you water naturally flows from a mountain down to a lake or the ocean, you press harder, and it becomes more pronounced as and bigger and wider. So it kind of feels more natural that way. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there are others. With this Pencil Pro, there's a lot of haptic feedback in that new
Yeah.
that sensor inside, and it's kind of surprising that you'll be drawing and you'll like use the selection tool, and as you drag, it starts clicking, click, click, click.
Mm-hmm.
And like, whoa, it's just like nice feedback. Kind of like you remember the Rumble Pack and the
Oh
Nintendo
yeah.
64.
That was
You get
great.
force feedback.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that feeling when it's new again, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, this pencil's like giving me this force feedback. It's pretty cool. It just kind of helps you know what's happening as you do it. So I like that. I twiddle my pencil a lot, so I have to be careful because you squeeze it, and
Yeah.
it'll click, and it'll make that radial menu pop up when you least expect it. So I have to learn how to not fiddle with my pencil while I'm drawing.
Right.
So
For oceans and seas, are there like waves that you can draw in there with some of the brushes they give you?
there waves. I don't remember seeing a wave brush or stamp. There are other water tools and
Mm-hmm.
water features, and so along the coastline, there's a there's multiple lines that kind of give a sense of motion,
Yeah.
and that's a specific pencil tool, a brush that comes with the pack, and you have to learn to use some masking with that, so you can lay it on there without going past the coastline onto your land, onto your terrain. So it took me a few tries to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
I can't say I've mastered it yet, but I'm working on it.
I'd imagine a volcano would be an option as well if you wanted to explore
Yes,
it.
there are
Yeah.
volcanoes. If there are different size volcanoes, there are different volcano groups. There are mountains with smoke, some with, some without. Uh, they're in there. There's a
Yeah.
bunch.
That's cool. In your research, did you come across people exporting this in some 3D fashion to create globes out of their maps? Is that a thing?
Wow. Wow, that's a good question. No, I have not seen any globes or 3D versions, just 2D.
Yeah, that'd be
I'll be on
interesting
the
if there'd
lookout
be.
for it.
Yeah, I don't know. 3D printing, I don't think would work for a round thing, I don't even know. Does 3D printing do
Yeah,
globes and stuff? I don't know.
I don't have experience with 3D printing, so
Yeah, me either.
no,
So
you
I
got me on
wasn't
that
sure.
one.
Yeah.
But I imagine someone else has asked the question and they're working on it. If it's not already invented, they're working on it right now.
Yeah.
Most
Now,
likely.
now creating these maps, in my mind, it's like, oh, I want to write a story based off this world I'm creating. Has that ever crossed your mind of getting into writing short stories based off the worlds you create here?
Yeah, yeah. I mentioned earlier. I kind of started with a story, and then kind of built a map from that for the story. But as my first map that I made now with Procreate and Map Effects, I'm kind of seeing where that will lead story wise.
Yeah.
Whether it be for a role playing game I want to mess around with, or just a book I would like to type up and make up a fiction story. It's very likely. It's very possible. Once you build the world, then you just got to fill it with characters, and boom, you got conflict, and then you
Yeah.
got a story.
Yeah.
So that would be so I would have to team up with my wife. She could do the character creation, and I could do the world and the setting and the environment. And I think she and I would make a good team because she's done some fiction writing too. So if I can get her to chip in on that, that'd be great.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Well, anything else you want to cover before we wrap it up?
Well, no, I think we've covered all the bases for this map effects. I would encourage people, if you're interested at all, just take a few hours to watch tutorials and tips on this stuff, uh, and get into it and just give it a shot, and don't be afraid to make mistakes and get your hands digitally messy. Get
Yeah.
in there and have fun with it. It cost me just $12 for Procreate, the program itself, and it didn't cost very much for the fantasy builder bundle. In fact, he has a few brushes you can get for free to make sure it
Nice.
works.
Yeah.
So I did that first. I got some of the basic free brushes and the free text map textures and a couple other freebies. If you sign up on his website, he just sends them to you, and you download, install, and you can just try it out and for free, basically. Other than the Procreate cost itself. So I encourage people just to give it a shot, have fun with it. It's a real, it's a good way to avoid bad news and social media if you need to. Like you can read a book, you can watch a movie, you can be creative, you can do coloring books, you can do map creating. There's a lot of creative stuff, and I think it's a healthy exercise, really. So I'm hoping to get better at it.
Yeah, it's a really
So,
cool way to use Procreate. I own Procreate, but I mostly do
okay.
abstract art in there. That's not really much, but map making is that's such a cool way to use Procreate. Like, yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Give it a try and see what you can come up with. You might surprise yourself.
Yeah,
Really.
for sure. So for people that are curious about kind of what you're up to, jasonjournals.com is kind of your blog that you kind of share different
Yes.
things you're up to. Anything else you want to promote?
Now I just mentioned that, yeah, I blog on Jason Journals, tech and gaming and related geek stuff. And I just use my iPad to blog. It's type away. It's pretty easy. It might be too easy. But that's a good thing. No, I think that covers everything.
Excellent. Well, I'll make sure to link to all that good stuff in the show notes. And thanks for your time this evening.
I know. Thank you for having me on the show, and wish everybody good night.
Well, that's my discussion with Jason, all about mapping on the iPad. Make sure to check out jasonjournals.com for more information and what he's up to. And as a reminder, you can support this podcast over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. With that, I'll talk with everyone again real soon.